Hi, let's talk about diabetes reversal rather than diabetes management. The fact that we're always talking about diabetes management is quite tragic in my opinion. I'm obviously talking about type 2 diabetes here and not type 1 diabetes. That's what I'm all about, is type 2 diabetes. So please keep that in mind so that you're not thinking that I'm talking about type 1 diabetes, because that's different. But type 2 diabetes is actually a reversible condition in most cases, if not all. You might want to argue with me about this and tell me that you have a certain genetic component that made you type 2, and I'm not going to argue with you about your genes. What I will argue though is that there is nothing wrong with your genes. Okay? It's not like your genes are failing and they're just waiting for you to get type 2 diabetes. No. As humans, we have evolved mostly eating meat and some plant materials. So your specific genetic makeup from your ancestors most likely come from ancestors that have had a lot of fatty meats available, so that they got really good at using this type of fuel, which then meant that they weren't so efficient at using the carbohydrates that they might have been exposed to at times. Clearly not too much, because then they would have been adjusting to that. So, which means that you are predisposed to run well on a low carbohydrate, high fat diet. So this is a good thing. I want you to know that this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. People who do not get diabetes and can still eat a lot of carbs and junk food, they're gonna get other problems. So in a way, I want you to see your condition as a blessing, because it's a warning to you that this is not a good way of treating your body. You need to start eating more in alignment with your genetics and your biology. So once you start eating according to your genes, you will do tremendously well. Now there might be a gap and there might be an adjustment period, and it might take some time depending on for how long you've had diabetes, for how long you've been eating a lot of junk food, how much of it you've been eating, etc. It can take time. It's not like just because you start eating well, it's going to go back in a week or so. It can take years before you get really well, but most of the time you start seeing quite significant improvements very quickly. So forget about eating a balanced diet, counting your carbs, calorie restriction, eating 6 meals per day, all of that is just nonsense. So please just forget about all of it. This is something that the modern society has invented. Throughout history, no one has ever counted carbs, tried to restrict the calories. It's the opposite. The more food we can get, the more we would have wanted to eat. Back in the days, who would have cared what time of the day was? It wasn't like someone was like, oh my god, no, you have to come back from your hunt and eat lunch. We can't have you being out all day. And by the way, did you have breakfast? It sounds ridiculous when you think about it. And oh my god, did you pack your snacks? Did you have your little fruit bowls in your back pocket? Come on. We're not made for this. We're not made for eating 10 times per day. We're not made for even eating regularly. That's not how our bodies thrive. Your body is made for storing both carbohydrates and fats if we're eating them. Actually, we don't need to eat carbohydrates, because our bodies can create carbohydrates and actually fill up the carbohydrate stores so that we have enough in case of an emergency. And we have lots of fat storage, and if we are fat burners, we can access these stores and use for energy for many, many days in a row without eating anything if there is no food around. And we're not going to starve unless we're running out of the fat stores, which takes a while for most of us in this kind of day and age. So if you continue eating the way that you have been eating up until now, you're going to get what you've got up until now. which is you're going to remain sick. You're going to keep being diabetic. So you need to change things. Because what got you here is not going to get you to somewhere else. It's just going to give you more of the same. So instead, what if you gave your body the chance of lowering the blood sugar, lowering the insulin naturally by giving it a break for most of the time? So let's say that you choose to have breakfast at 10 a.m. and you might want to have lunch at 1 p.m., dinner at 5, and then you don't eat until 10 a.m. the next day. Voila, you've just done a 17-hour intermittent fast. So if you don't know what an intermittent fast is, that's literally what it is. You just have a period of time, somewhere between maybe 12 and 24 hours of not eating. That is an intermittent fast. You've given your body a 17-hour break from all external input of food, and you've given it a chance to start working properly again. You've given it a chance to start burning fat for energy rather than just carbs. So when you eat, if you're eating according to your genetic makeup, so that you were eating the same sort of foods that your ancestors would have been eating, or similar ones anyway, your system is going to thank you and everything is going to be working. If you have hormonal issues, they will most likely resolve themselves. Obviously your diabetes, your blood sugar will go down, your blood pressure will start going down. The only thing that I've seen that does not look ideal on blood test might be the blood lipids, because they want to push statins on you, so they're saying that that is abnormal. But what you need to know is that as long as the inflammation is low, which it will be if you're eating the right foods, you don't have to worry about that. Okay? So forget about the fancy low-fat vegan foods, whatever. That's not what your genes are telling you to eat. None of us, whether we are diabetic or not, should be eating what the dietary guidelines suggest that we eat. Instead, we should focus on real, unprocessed foods, primarily fatty cuts of meat, and if you want, you can have some low-carb vegetables with that for variation. That's fine. And you're good to go. Okay? If you want a little bit more help with picking your foods, you can just join our Facebook group and we can help you. You can ask questions, you can connect with us, and you can connect with other type 2 diabetics, and we'll also be able to answer those questions in a more detailed way than I can do here on YouTube. And if you like the video, just give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, press that little bell so that you get a notification the next time we're putting a video up, and I hope to see you in the next episode.